All right, back of the pack ultra guy. I'm back again. We have a very special guest. I've been following this individual for a while and just super uh his content's great. I love the stories he shares, the messages that come from his videos and his pictures. Um, Very different story than mine. So that's kind of probably another reason I've been attracted to it, where I had a slower launch into ultra, and he seemed to kind of just taking the straight up path, going, launching, avoiding all the shorter distances and launching straight into the larger ones. So without further ado, Diarra Cropper, we have on the podcast today. Um, what's your Instagram handle again? It's Code Triathlete.
CO_Trilete 25.
That's right. That's right. I don't know how I got triathlete in there. Maybe that's because that's what it's saying. But
Yeah.
so thank you so much for jumping on. Like I said, I've been following you for a while, and I'm very excited about this one. I think your story is fantastic. So we like to start off by just kind of getting a background, a quick introduction. I mean, it's not like what tell us what happened when you were five. It's not a therapy session, but kind of give us an idea of where you grew up, athletics. Were you involved in athletics? What were you interested in as a kid? Chess, running. What was it that you were interested in as a kid? Where you grew up, and kind of how you started to find your way through athletics, and then ultimately to ultra.
Sweet. Yeah. Yeah. Thanks for having me, man. I really appreciate it. I've been following your page for a while as well and love the hilarious content. um,
Oh, helps pass the time.
it does. So I am originally from Southern Illinois, about 10, 15 minutes from downtown St. Louis. So I grew up in the middle of the sticks, the cornfields, and my whole life I was a basketball, football, baseball, and a sprinter for track guy. And kind of dropped baseball as a
Nice.
kid and kept track. I was like, this is a little bit more competitive. And that's kind of when I found my love for running, but not distance, was in more like middle schoolish days. So I was more of like a 100, 200. I was definitely a hurdler, a long jump guy, and you couldn't pay me to run over a mile back then. Basketball, I ended up going collegiate, playing basketball and track. So that's where
Nice.
I learned a lot of just like hard work and work ethic and just not giving up and waking up at odd times in the morning to go strength train and practice and then try to go to class and then go back to train and then eat. And so I feel like my whole life has almost been like preparing me to just go head first into ultras. um,
I love the fact that you and I have had the most opposite, like high school, junior high, high school, college experience, where I was the most undisciplined, not getting up to go exercise, not competing. I love hearing these stories. This is awesome.
yeah, so then I moved out to Colorado Springs area about 7 years ago now in 2018, just because there was nothing going for me in St. Louis. I was done with sports in college, and I was helping train some kids at the time, but it wasn't really paying the bills and doing much, and wasn't really making me happy. So I decided just to pack my stuff up one day and got some job interviews out here and moved out to Colorado Springs in 2018, and the rest has been history. Now I'm a chef out here and I coach at the high school.
Hey, nice.
Oh yeah, coach at Manitou High School, track and basketball and volleyball, pretty much almost everything. And um,
I love it. So, chef, and now, did you go to school for that, or is that just something you like did an apprenticeship with, or how does that work?
something I kind of picked up. I was a bartender part time back in St. Louis, and I was so done just dealing with crazy people. So I was like, you know what? I think I want to try like the cooking aspect of it. So I started cooking when I moved out here. And I was like, okay, this is actually a lot of fun. We're just back here shooting the crap and talking crap to each other and listening to music, doing what we can do. I feel like you're in your own dojo, just hanging out. And for me, I've always enjoyed making food and seeing people enjoy what I make for them. Even when I was in college, we would have pool parties, and I'd be the one on the grill making steaks and ribs and burgers for everybody while everybody
Yeah.
out drinking and partying. I'm like, all right, who's hungry? But
So I'm definitely not a chef, but I really feel like I can cook an okay steak. I think so. I have to ask you, do you ever feel like it's perfect? Because every time I serve somebody else food, I've always nitpick it, and there's something, maybe I pulled it off just a little too late, or I didn't let it rest enough. Like, do you ever
right.
get over that hurdle where you feel like what you're serving them is just perfect?
I try not to have the mindset that everything I send out is perfect because I hate having such a huge ego, but I know the food I send out is going to be very flavorful. It might not be the exact, like, it might be a couple degrees off, but it's going to be really, really close to temperature. It's
Perfect.
definitely going to have a
Okay,
lot
so
of
it's
flavor in
just
there.
my ego then. I'll have to get over my ego. Maybe that's what it is because I don't think of myself as an ego-driven person, but I always feel a little like having to justify what I'm serving. Like, hey, it's we could have let it rest a little longer, and everybody always says it's good, but I don't know if they're just saying that. But
So I'm
they
always
come back,
one.
so I guess it's okay.
So I'm definitely always one I can take some good
So
positive and negative feedback. So I always want to know so I can do it better for next time.
I love it though. What's striking to me is you just pick yourself up and move to Colorado Springs. You're already an athlete. You start to get involved in cooking, become a chef, behind the scenes work where you're not dealing with customers directly. I can see why you'd like that,
Oh
but
yeah.
you're doing your thing. Did you realize that you were moving to like the endurance athlete mecca in Colorado Springs and Boulder area and all in
Doing some
Colorado?
research, I knew
Because that's
Colorado was
I
like.
always think of that as the mecca. Maybe I'm
I feel like it is almost because I know I was doing my research and they were like, "Yeah, Colorado's the healthiest state or most fit state, and everybody's active." I'm like, "Okay, let's go check this out." And I get here and there's not a day where you don't see somebody biking, running, rollerblading, hiking,
yeah.
climbing, ice climb. Like it, they're just doing everything you can think of out here. And
I love
I'm
it.
a big hiker.
Yeah, I so when you get to Colorado, you get settled in your job. What's next athletically? I know you said you started teaching at the school, coaching, excuse me, at the school. Um, what's transpiring right now for your personal athletics?
Um, so when I first moved here, I was actually more just into hiking. So like all the 14ers, I was always trying to just knock out as many 14ers as I can, which are the 14,000 foot mountains out here.
Yep,
And
nice.
I think it was maybe 4 years ago now. I was still playing basketball when I moved here, and then I was playing semi-pro beach volleyball as well.
Wow, geez,
Yep. So
all over the place. I love it.
yep. So it was fun. We were traveling to like Vail and Steamboat Springs and Breckenridge and like all these beautiful mountain towns to go play in sand volleyball tournaments.
Oh man.
And it was awesome. I'm like, okay, this is cool. And then that same summer, I was in a basketball league and I ruptured my Achilles. And that's when I was like, you
Uh,
know what? I think I'm going to hang up the basketball shoes and I'm going to try and find something else. And that's where my boss, where I work at now, he does triathlons and trail running and all kinds of just endurance stuff. So he looked at me. He was like, "Hey man, you remember that triathlon I tried to get you to do? You ready to do it now?" And for me, I'm like, "Man, black people can't swim. Like hell no, I'm not going to do it." And they just lost. And I'm like, seriously, have you ever seen a black dude in the water swimming a mile? Like, there's very slim to none that do it. So did some training with them that spring and did a Xterra triathlon, which was an off-road one.
nice.
And that kind of introduced
Yeah.
me to the trails, like endurance trail sports. So I started mountain biking and trail running and all that fun stuff. And at first, my joy was mountain biking. I loved it. I was like, this is so much fun, even though it hurt going up the hills. But coming down,
Yeah.
like flying around the curves and going off jumps, oh, it was so much fun. And
That's what I always tell the mountain bikers when I see them trail running. I'll always tell them, you're doing it the fun way.
right,
When they're going down and I'm coming up, I'm like,
yep.
you guys are doing it the fun way. Bombing down on a mountain bike is so fun.
Oh my
So I
god,
hear you. That's awesome.
yeah. And then
And Xterra, that's impressive stuff too. That off road, the whole thing's from what I understand, you swim in like a lake.
Yeah.
It's all outdoors. Then you
Yep.
do the mountain bike, and then it's the running, but it's all trail running.
Yep. And it whooped my butt. Oh my lord, because that was my first time doing
Nice.
like any competitive trail stuff. So I was like, oh wow, I need to really dedicate some more time to the trails. So after that, I kind of went into more of the mountain biking, but I was doing some kind of like road 5K, 10Ks, and half marathons here and there. Just kind of like building up the distance that first year. And that first year, I ended up doing my first half marathon. And I was like, maybe I'm ready for a marathon. And it was in the middle of winter, and I'm on, not Ultra Sign Up, but I'm on Google, like races within 400 miles of me. And something called Ultras popped up. I'm like, what the hell is an ultra marathon? I was like, oh, you can actually run 26? What the absolute heck? And
Yeah.
ended up going on YouTube because there were these series of races out in Moab, like a Triple Crown series that you can sign up for through Mad Moose.
Mhm.
And I was like, okay, 50K, do two 50Ks and a 50 miler. I think I can mentally push myself for that off of no training. So from November to January, I trained for my first 50K for Moab, and it could have went any way you could have imagined. I was just in pain. I was ready to be done. I was just like, get me off of this course. But I didn't do too bad. I think it was maybe a 6.5 hour finish for my very first 50K for
Wow. Nice.
not really trail running, not really running in general. And then
That's impressive for your first 50. That's good.
oh, I definitely took it. I was like, oh, sweet. I'm not last place, but I'm not first, but I'm like right there in the middle. This is awesome. So I just told me
I
where my
love it.
fitness was, and I was like, okay, maybe I can do a 50 miler in a couple months. And that was an absolute shit show. It was the last race of the Triple Crown
It's
series.
funny how that little bump in distance, that's just enough that it's like, yeah, I muscled out a nice 50K, and then you go do the 50 miler, and you're like, oh, whoa, yeah, okay,
Yeah,
this is
20 miles
this
makes
is hard.
a huge difference. That
Yeah,
course was
exactly.
insane. They like to torch you. It was the first 20 to 25 miles was a net downhill, and then there was a turnaround point, and then you come all the way back through these canyons, and you're rock climbing and scrambling and bouldering, and I was like, this is what, holy, okay, this is legit ultra running now. Holy crap. I remember we were going through water crossings
I
and
love it.
we were climbing up and down Jacob's Ladder from the Moab 240 course and all kinds of crazy stuff. And I was like, this is intense. But ended up finishing in like 13 and a half hours for my first 50 mile. And that's
Nice.
about 6 to 7 thousand.
That's good too.
So I was like, hey, I finished. I'll take it. And I turned around. And I was like, where's everybody else? I was like, I know I'm not like the best, but I can't be the last finisher now. Come on. And I talked to the race director. They're like, yeah, everybody else timed out. I was like, holy crap. So you mean I actually did pretty well?
He's like, yeah, you did.
So from that moment on, I was like, okay, I'm going to take training for this stuff serious. And I signed up for another 50 miler, which was 2 months out, and just trained my butt off. And ended up shaving 4 hours off of my 50-mile time.
Whoa,
Yeah, I went from 13 and a half,
that's
no,
no
five
joke.
hours. Yeah, 13 and a half to 9.5 hours. Yes, yeah, 4 hours. Yep.
Wow.
And I was like,
That's
oh,
impressive, man.
I might actually be able to compete in this sport. This is getting crazy now.
That's awesome.
So yeah, went from
So then
0 to
from
100
from
real quick.
you had some great finishes. That's amazing. Um, what did did it ever start to settle in that you were doing really well, or was it just still kind of a new feeling, or did it really kind of settle in at some point? Because I know sometimes people can tell you, like the race directors tell you, no, you did good, but like sometimes us, like humans, were like,
Right.
did I? Did I do? And did it start settling in? You're like, wow, I'm really doing well at this.
Right. And I think at that time, I was just so new to the sport where I was just fanboying over everybody I met. So like there was like Allie Mack was at that race and she was just there to take pictures and record and do all this stuff for Aravaipa and trying to think who else. I know Jamil Curry showed up for a little bit since he runs Aravaipa and then he showed up to the race. And I think I finished 20th overall during Ram. And I remember just Jamil came up to me. He was like,
Wow.
"Hey man, who are you and how come you've never been to any of my group runs?" And like me knowing who Jamil was at that time, I'm like, holy shit. Like he noticed me, he noticed what I did. Like I must have did something great out there. Like I must be doing pretty well right now in this sport. So that kind of just gave me like a boost of confidence right there, just hearing that from Jamil. And yeah, next few races besides Javelina that year went pretty well. I remember I went out the Dead Horse 50 miler after Javelina just to prove a point.
Mhm.
I was like, I know I can run an ultra. Like, there's no way I dropped that 30 just because of like heat exhaustion. And ended up getting another 50-mile PR. So I'm like, okay, so it looks like
Wow.
I'm improving as the year and the days go on. And yeah,
So if I do want to pause real quick. So you're having all this success, um, well, breaking your own personal bests. You keep increasing in distance. You keep doing better and better. And you mentioned you did Javelina and you had a DNF there. A lot of people really get shooken up with DNFs. I mean, I'm not going to sit and tell you my DNF story because I want to hear all about you, but I know for me personally, it did really shake me up, and I've talked to plenty of other people that it really does shake you up. I'd love to hear mentally you having all this success and then you kind of hit that wall. What was going through your mind?
after that DNF, I was kind of like, well, am I really an ultra runner if I can't run 100 miles? Or am I really an ultra runner if I can't even get past this heat or all these like challenges and can't fight through it? Or, but like then I just started to learn, I'm like, oh, I'm actually doing myself a favor if I drop because that means, as they say, like DNF means did nothing fatal. And I realized that all those drops that I did have, it could have ended very, very bad if I wouldn't have gotten pulled or dropped out of that race. Because after getting rhabdo last year, I'm like, okay, now I really, really understand like rest and recovery and don't push, like push, but don't push it too hard to where you're going to end up in the hospital.
Now we can't just glance over that.
No.
What race did you get rhabdo from?
It was actually Gorge 100K, Gorge Waterfalls 100K last year.
Oh wow! And you've just recently completed that last week, right?
So, funny story about this weekend. I was feeling great. I took it a lot more smooth going into it this year. And about mile 24, my body started feeling just really weird, like a big drop in temperature. Because it was very, very cold, windy, and rainy out there that day. And I sweat a ton. Like, you can probably fill up a gallon of water off of my sweat after just maybe 5, 10 miles. And just all this sweat and all the layers just freezing and getting stuck onto me. I ended up getting hypothermic at about mile 27.
Ooh.
And even though I had changed clothes, new jacket, new shirt, new everything, I was still just shaking, like very, very hard. And I was like, okay, this can't be good. So I went over to the medic. I was like, hey, I think I might need a blanket for like 20, 30 minutes here. And went and sat in the car for about 20, 30 minutes and nothing was changing. So I sat for another hour and a half in that car at the aid station. And at that point, they were like, hey, there's 8 more of you here with hypothermia that we're getting ready to take down to the start finish line because they all just dropped. We can put you as a drop, or you have 15 minutes to get your shit together and get out of this aid station before it closes. So me being a person I am, I'm like, screw it, I'm getting back out there. A station volunteer, and also one of my good buddies who was out there working, gave me a pair of pants, and that was all I needed. And went back out there and
Huh.
put in another 25 miles before they timed me out. But it was just the point, like I just wanted to show myself like I can keep grinding it out if I need to. So yeah,
Well, if you ever doubted that you're an ultra runner, that's pretty much the definition of, in my mind, is someone who has enough grit to get up out of the car or get up out of the chair, get up out of the nice warm seat by the fire and keep moving.
yep.
Because it's tough to do that, man. I'm proud of you. That's impressive.
Oh, and there were so many people out there. They're like, "Wait, didn't we just see you in the sleeping bag at Ainsworth, and now you're out here going back after it? Holy crap!" You're like, "We saw you, man. You look
Are you the sleeping bag guy?
literally." That was my nickname out there, was sleeping bag guy.
No, that'd be a great Instagram handle. I love it.
Yeah.
Sleeping bag guy.
But it was awesome. I met a lot of great people
So,
because I haven't really been like in the back of the pack in so long since I first started. So just like meeting new people that were in the back or mid back of the pack and just chatting it up with them and learning their story and how they got involved and how many ultras they've done or is this their first one. And so it was just awesome, just really connecting with like a whole different group of people instead of just like the front of the pack or the elites the whole time. And
yeah.
it was really
Well,
nice.
I'll tell you, the back of the pack's where the party's at. So
That's what
come
I've
back into
heard.
the pack anytime.
I've heard it's the party
We
pack.
have a good time back there. I
But it was
love it.
awesome. One dude
So
gave
that's
me
yeah,
the
so you
utmost respect because he was like, most
go ahead.
elites.
Sorry.
Oh, you're fine. He was like, yeah, dude, most elites, whenever you guys have like problems or you figure out you're not going to finish top 10 or top 20, I just see you guys drop out all the time. And I was like, I let my ego go when I first started this stuff. I know there's so many people better and faster than me. If I could just stay competitive and just finish these races, that's all that matters to me. It's like either I'm finishing in 10 hours or 18 hours. A finish is a finish.
Yeah, and those moments are really what build your gas tank of grit, right? It's like there's only one way to learn it. There's
Right.
it's doing it. You know, you can listen to all the motivational or anti-motivational if it's David Goggins. You can listen to whatever you can listen to pump yourself up, and that may help a teeny bit, like a drop in the bucket. But it's those moments like where you're in the sleeping bag, you're in your car shivering, and you're like, I don't want to go, but you still get out and go. That's the only way to build that muscle, that and fill up that gas tank. Because other than that, man, it's you can't teach it. Like
Totally.
there's no college course, there's no online course, you know. So I'm really proud of you. That's tough, man. It's really tough to get out there, and especially having such a successful beginning of your career, and then you have these rough moments. That guy was right. You know, if most times if people are going for that big finish and they're not going to get it, you know, I have seen them drop for a myriad of reasons, but that's fine. That's the way they want to run it. But to push through that, I mean, that's only making you stronger. I love that story.
All right. I had a feeling that I could push, but I didn't know how far I could push before I got timed out because not similar, but something happened when I did the Rocky Raccoon 100 miler in this past February, where the first 40 to 45 miles I was feeling great, averaging a great pace. I was having fun, hanging out at the A stations, but still making good time and chatting it up with everybody and just having a good time. And mile 40 or 41 rolled around, and I don't know how I stepped, but I had a little injury going into it, and I just felt a shooting pain throughout my knee to where I couldn't like put pressure on it. Going downhill just hurt every single step, and I'm like, okay, I thought I was over this injury. Now it's back. Holy crap, what do I do? So I got to the A station, and thankfully, a guy that was in my hotel, his son was doing the race as well. And we kind of chatted it up the day before. He saw me out there kind of limping, and he gave me the strongest ibuprofen I probably ever had in my life. And I was like, thank you, God, that I met this guy at the hotel yesterday because I feel a little bit better. I can run somewhat now. And it got to the point where I was in tears at like mile 60 just
Oh,
because I was in so much pain. And I was like, I don't want to stop because I want to get this 100-mile completion. And I knew I was ahead of cutoff time. So I was like, I can hike this out for the next 50 miles if I need to. I can hike this bad boy out and still finish before the cutoff. So I ended up picking up my pacer a little bit earlier than expected at the 100K mark. And he got me through the night. We hiked and ran when I could and sat down at the aid stations. After every aid station, I was icing for about 5, 10 minutes before I got back out and making sure I was eating and staying warm. And so from that point on, I was like, oh, I'm going to finish this damn race. And it got to the point where the last 10K, I was averaging 8 to 9 minute miles because I just felt so great.
wow.
Like the last loop, because it was a loop course, I think I passed in between 80 to 100 people on that last loop
Holy cow.
because I had a feeling because I had rested from 40 to 80 because my knee was just in so much pain. So I was just hiking it out, not really running. And I looked at my pacer and I was like, hey, man, I think we're going to be the only ones running this loop. So let's just roll. And that 20-mile loop, we did it in about 4.5, 5 hours. And yeah, I ended up passing a lot of people. Last 10K, I was averaging 8. I think the last 5K, I ducked down into the sevens for a little bit.
Holy cow.
And I remember looking at my watch, and I was going 7.5 because there was one more guy that was in front of me that I was going to try to catch. In my mind, I saw the guy before he turned a corner. In my mind, I was like, I hope my pacer didn't see him because we've been picking people off for the last 4 to 5 hours, and I am tired. And my pacer ended up seeing. He was like, "You want to go get one more? Why the hell not?" So started started running, and next thing you know, my pace was like 750. And then he was like, "Open up your
Oh,
leg."
jeez.
Next thing you know, I'm pushing like 720 at mile 98, 99. And this guy sees me from behind. He's like, oh crap, oh crap. He tries to pick up his speed, but he's just done. So, oh,
Jeez, what a finish.
oh, it was amazing. I remember one of my teammates, he was out there. He's like, oh, D's about 3 miles away. It should take him about an hour. Nope, took me 30 minutes to get back. You're like, holy crap.
Man, even like a live spot tracker like like Cocodona or Monster, I don't even think it would keep up with that fast. I mean, it might. I just never like those. The tracking at those races where you just step over the mat. It's
Yeah.
so hard to track people. So I could feel your crew's pain because they're like, "What? Oh my gosh, no, no, he's not supposed to be in yet. We're not ready." Because they can't judge how fast you're going.
No. And it was so funny after that race. I guess I had passed this one girl and her dad, and about 2 miles out from the finish line, and I just went sprinting by, just like, "Hey, let's go! We're almost there! Come on!" And next thing you know, I get a message from her like, "Hey, I was that girl you passed at mile 98. I've never seen anybody move that fast that late into a race before. Holy crap!" And she's like, "I remember seeing you at the A station,
Amen.
down and out. I'm like, how did you bounce back?" And it was just hilarious.
Well, I want to know what's in that ibuprofen.
I want to know too. I didn't ask any questions. I just took it and went.
Yeah, I've been there where I was at the Mogollon Monster here in Arizona,
I heard that's what.
and we were going. I was going with this guy, and he said, "Hey, do you have any ibuprofen?" I said, "Sure." So I gave him the little baggie I had it in, and I don't know how, but we got separated. And when we finally met back up, I said, "Hey, Nate, I need my ibuprofen back. I got to take some." He goes, "Oh, I'm so sorry. I'll here take this too." And he handed me this gummy, and I don't use any type of THC or anything. And I don't know what was in that gummy, but I was so focused the rest of the race. So I didn't ask him what it was. I probably should have, but I ate it, and I just kept hammering up this hill. And my pacer's like, "Man, you're making really good time. You're really picking up the pace." And I just was so focused, and he's like, "You're not talking very much. You usually talk a lot." And I was like, "I'm just really. We got to get this next aid station." So I like you. I didn't ask any questions, but that definitely didn't make me run 7:30 miles. That's for sure.
Well, I feel like
That's amazing. What an amazing story.
so it's like I know the fitness is there, so if I go in without an injury, oh, that course can be just destroyed. Like I can go in and just really, really have a good time on that course. But definitely the THC.
But one thing I want to. Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
I was saying, yeah, definitely the THC products are definitely something that's helped me out in a long way during ultra running as well. That's just the gummies.
Well, yeah, I don't know much about it, but I know plenty of athletes utilize all types of stuff, and it's definitely not uncommon. Let's just put it that way, out on the course.
Oh no, I actually
Um,
passed some dude
I've heard a lot of stories.
and he was just vaping out of his weed pen. And I was like, "Hey man, were you getting a little stony baloney there?" He was like, "Yeah, bro. Do you want some?" I'm like, "I'm good right now, but thank you." Like, I love this sport. This is
That is yeah. You have just described ultra. I mean, I remember my first 100. It was like middle of the night, and I came into this aid station, and I was just tired, and it wasn't the too low of a moment, but I was having a low moment. I was trying to do math in my head, and it wasn't working out, and I was really worried I was missing cutoffs and stuff. And I got there, and they're like, "Oh, you're good, man." Playing the guitar, and they were smoking weed and drinking, and I was
yep,
like, "Where am I? This is this is cool.
right,
This is a big party. Everyone's having a good time."
yep.
I don't know if any of them were runners. They looked like they were crew and the aid station people, but they were all having a good time. I was like, "This is awesome," and everyone's always so nice and helpful. And
Oh
what can I do for you? And so yeah, I think that's the essence of trail running. And I've noticed that maybe we could dip in this for just a minute, but
yeah,
compared to other sports, I remember when I did Ironman, I was it was like 2 days before the event, and I was at a running store buying stuff, and I saw another guy with an Ironman shirt. I said, "Oh, are you doing the event in a couple of days?" He's like, "Yeah," and I said, "Oh, awesome." And I was trying to talk to him, and it was like he thought I was his competition or something, and he just wasn't friendly at all. And I kind of got that vibe, not with everybody, but with quite a few people. And same with the road scene. I mean, everyone's moving so fast. There's really no time to talk. But
right.
and then I come to the trail scene, and I was just like, these are my people. Like everyone's so nice. Everybody's trying to help each other. Like if you see someone struggling on the course, you don't just run past them. You're like, hey, do you need salt? Do you need a gummy? Whatever.
Right.
What do you need? What can I help you with? And it's just such a different feel than all the other sports I've done. It's endurance sports. So I don't know. Have you felt that as well? That trying to transition into ultra?
I've definitely felt that because I started off on the road doing like the 5Ks, 10s, and half marathons. And the nicest people I met on the road were mainly trail runners. They were just doing the like half marathon
Oh,
for like a speed workout or something like that. So a lot of the
yeah.
road or like you say like the triathletes or like Ironman athletes, they're kind of like almost not I wouldn't say rude, but just more like standoffish to where like you said, like if you fell during the middle of an Ironman or a half or a marathon on the road, I guarantee you'll get ran by like 100, 200 people before somebody comes and picks you up. And like on
Yeah.
Saturday, I took a nasty fall going down this steep decline, going across this water crossing, and this guy saw me. He was coming the other way, getting ready to finish, and he stopped. He was like, "Hey man, are you okay?" And he saw me just like going through absolute hell. And he stopped, picked me up, asked if I needed anything, was gonna give me like all the rest of his salts and everything he had on his bag. I was like, dude, no, you have like 8 more miles on this 2,000 foot climb to go. Like, You take what you need. I'm just gonna get to this aid station and figure my life out. But it's definitely. I feel
No,
like
I think I think it's partly because of the nature of the ultra, and I'm not throwing roadies or Ironman people under the bus, and I met nice people there as well. I just think the nature of the sport kind of breeds that community because you have so much time together
right.
versus like you really can't talk on the bike.
No,
You really definitely can't talk swimming.
no.
And if you're trying to PR your marathon, you
You're,
couldn't even talk if you wanted to. So
but even
so I think it's just the nature of the event.
right. But I do feel like there's a lot of like pace
But
shaming going around in some of those worlds, to where like you can't run with our group because you don't run this pace, or you can't run with us because you don't run this
yeah, oh yeah,
marathon. It's just like
yeah,
wow, like people are that exclusive.
yeah.
The ultra community,
No, I would attest to that for sure. I that's you know on Strava I see all these guys that kind of come in and out of trail and they play with road and trail and their road groups are so fast and it's like there's no way I'm getting an invite to any one of these groups because they definitely drop me. But if I bring up some new people out road trail running, I think that's one thing that they've said is like, oh, we're chatting, like we're having a good time, we're getting to know each other.
right?
Um, there, it definitely fosters more community, and I that's one thing that's always attracted me to the sport is you just meet so many people
Right.
and I don't know. I've done plenty of memes about it where like I have my new best friend Jason or whatever, and I never talk to him again except for on Strava,
Yeah.
because I spent 8 hours with him during a race or something, and you never see him again. But you help each other through, a really hard part of your life.
Yeah.
It's voluntary, but you're helping each other through this hard moment, and it really breeds a good community. But I really like it.
Oh,
So I'm fascinated by your story about that that last one you shared because you have this low moment and then you just I mean it's definitely not just the ibuprofen. I'm sure that helped, but it attests to your mental state. The grit you have to just push through that. And all of a sudden now you're running like insane times, like that gal said. I've never seen someone run that fast. I would have said the same thing. I think that's an amazing story, and it really should be celebrated because that's the essence of ultra is you have you have enough time to go through every different emotion, every different possible facet of a race where you're killing it, you feel great, it's smooth to I just took a fall, my leg is killing me, my knee now hurts, sitting in a car shivering, and then, on to this insane finish. I think that's an amazing story.
that was definitely a crazy long 27 hours out there. I was just glad to get
Isn't it crazy to think back and you're like, a whole day, man. I just did something for a whole day.
because I was on track
Um,
before.
I did want to say it again.
I was on track for, I think they had me coming in as a 19-hour finish before my injury because I was at mile 40
Oh,
within 7.5, 8 hours. So I was like, oh, okay, I'm going to finish sub 20. This is awesome. And the next thing you know, boom. And I feel like that's
yeah.
where a lot of people might have that ego trip. It's like, okay, I was just in the top 10 or top 20. Now I've dropped down 100 spots and now I'm hiking. Like, what do I do? And I feel like for me, like I've just always wanted that 100-mile finish after DNF and Javelina a couple times. I'm like, I am not DNFing this. I will crawl across this finish line if I need to.
But see that's why I think the story is so great is because that's life, right? I mean, I don't know, maybe you have a perfect life, but all my ultra stories translate like directly into life. We have these incredible high moments in life, and then you have these terrible low moments, and it just goes up and down. And that's why I always like to think of the ultra as like a microcosm of life where you get to experience almost a miniature life within this race where you get to really put yourself to the test and mentally force yourself to have these moments and you really see who you're made of or what you're made of rather.
And I trained with some really tough people out here, so they've definitely made me very tough as nails to get out there and just grind it out and just finish. Because there's some
But
elites
yeah, like I said, I
that I'll train with, and there's some people
yes, Colorado.
for years, and they just know what it takes to get it done. So, like with my speed work, I'll train with a guy named Joseph Gray. I don't know if you know who he is, but he's probably one
No.
of the best sub ultra trail runners in the world right now. Well, for the past like 15 years.
Wow.
And he's another black male out here in Colorado Springs. And as I'm sure you know, the sport of trail running is not very diverse yet. So the fact that he saw me,
Well, that's one thing I wanted to ask you about is I know you're a part of a group, but I didn't want to do a disservice to it introducing it, so I was going to ask you to speak on that. So that's a nice transition. I'd love to hear more about this group that I've seen you post about on Instagram.
oh, I think it's the Blackman Run Group.
Yeah,
Yeah, yeah, yeah. So I used to be heavily involved with them a couple years ago, but had some falling out here and there. But I still communicate with a lot of the guys and go run with them and hang out with
nice.
them and go race with them and everything. It's just I'm not really a part of the organization anymore, but I'll go hang out and run with them from time to time. But
Okay, cool.
but it's definitely nice.
So, but this other guy, was he a part of that same group?
No, no. So he's
Okay.
actually on the U.S. trail racing team for short distances.
Wow.
Yeah. So I got connected with him through a couple of friends after one of them had did the Pikes Peak Ascent out here, and they're like, "Oh, we need to introduce you to our friends Joe and Dreama since they live here in the Springs, and we can get you training with them and see how your times will go." So they introduced me to Joseph Gray and a lady named Dreama Walton, and they completely just changed my life and like perspective of everything. Because like Joe, he's more just
Wow.
fast. We're gonna put your opponent in anaerobic debt, and we're just gonna teach you how to just be speedy. And I'm like, oh my god, this is insane. That was the first time I've ever thrown up in a workout was with him and his crew. We were doing
Nice.
we were doing a tempo hill workout, and it was like 3 miles at a time, going up this hill that was like a 400, 500 foot climb per mile. And I'm like, all right, let's see how this goes. And they were pushing like 6:37 going up this hill, and I'm fighting for my life at like an 8.5 minute pace. And I get to the first stop and I throw up. I'm like, you guys go. There's no way I'm gonna try to keep it. Like, there's no way in hell. And like some of those guys, one of them he had the American 10 mile road record. I don't know if it got broken this year, but he had broke it last year. And then another guy was like a 101 half marathoner. Another one was like a 27-minute 10K guy. I'm like, what? Who do you have me training with? And of course,
Yeah, right.
they were the Kenyan guys, the guys from Kenya that live out here and run for like Team Army or USA or Air Force. And I'm like, this is absolutely
Wow.
insane. Like these are the people you see running like the New York or Boston on TV, like in the front pack, and I'm like, I'm just out here training casually with them. Like I
How cool is that?
those days always. I'm just like those days really helped me just to get a little bit faster. And then Dreama,
Well, it sounds like it's helped you get a lot more faster.
and then Dreama, she shows so much determined and grit. Like she's an elite runner for Hoka as well. Both of them run for Hoka, and they've been with Hoka for years. And she just shows just so much determination out there on these courses because she's more of the ultra runner, and things might not go her way. Like she did Western States, I want to say 2 or 3 years ago, and some things just took a turn and went to shit for her for a little bit, but she just pushed through. Even though she was an elite runner and wasn't in the top 5 or top 10, she just kept going and just wanted to like show her daughter that she can be strong and finish and do hard things and challenge herself. So just like getting the combination of those two, just like the hard work, the determination, just to get out there and just keep pushing. Those two really helped open my eyes up to everything.
It's awesome. That's so cool. And I hear when you're speaking on it, it's more than just running. You're talking about this woman doing it for her daughter to show her daughter grit and determination. And I'm hearing it in your story as well. It's not like this is just affecting your running, it's affecting your mindset, it's affecting your life. Um, I love it. That's awesome. And I could probably be a water boy for those guys. If you ever need a water boy, I'll come up there and hang out halfway and pass out water for you guys
Yeah, those
because that's
are,
crazy fast.
yeah. But yeah, I've had
That is crazy fast.
just helped me out through these last few years since I've started ultra running, and yeah, they've helped in every single way possible, even just ultra. Like I've had a bunch of friends help me out just get started running. There was this lady
Right on.
I met during my first half marathon, and she had a great pace going on for my first half. I think it was like a 7:45, 8 minute pace, and I was like, hey, I like this. And I looked over at her. I'm like, hey, I'm sorry to follow you for like these last couple miles, but you have a very great pace, and this is my first half. And she's like, oh, no worries. I love pacing with friends. And we just got to chat, and next thing you know, our little like group just grew bigger and bigger. Next thing there's like 5 or 6 of us running in a pack and just all having a great time. And got to talk
That's
to her,
awesome.
and she was more of a trail runner, and she was like, yeah, I just did Pikes Peak Ascent last weekend, so I'm doing this half marathon this weekend. I'm like, you are an animal. And I was
Right?
friends with. So she introduced me to a whole
Holy cow.
people out here that trains for Pikes Peak Ascent throughout the winter, spring, summer, and then they do the race. And they were whooping my ass. I mean, on all those climbs, I was just getting passed by like 50-year-old women, 60-year-old women, like 70-year-old men were just coming up by. I'm like, what in the world? Like, trail running is no joke. And now it's kind of like the tables have turned. Now they're trying to catch me and trying to keep up
Yeah.
because I made it a point. I'm like, I want to try to like beat these people sooner. Like, I want to be faster than them. And just being surrounded by that good positive group, like they just really push each other to be great and be the best version of yourselves out there.
I love that. That that's so awesome. I mean, you find out in life, like you find those groups of people or that one person who genuinely wants to see you succeed. Like that is such a precious thing. Because in the world, it feels like no one, you feel like kind of a lone island, right? But then you find those people that really want to see you succeed, and they're actively investing in you. I mean, that's invaluable. That's awesome you found that group.
Oh, it's been amazing ever since I found that group. And now, yeah, like I said, just open up doors for everything I've been getting into. Then ended up leading.
Well, I wanted to give you a chance to go back. I felt like I kind of cut you off when I asked you about that group,
Oh, no.
but you were opening up about being, uh, you felt like you're one of the only black guys out there. I wanted to give you a chance to speak on that more because I think that's important in the sport is being an all inclusive group for everybody. So
Right.
if you wouldn't mind speaking on that more, I feel like I kind of cut you off there.
Oh, no, you're fine. So definitely when I first started running more on the roads, you could see a lot more black guys out there because I feel like that's more in the comfort zone. Like you're safe, secure. You're not in the middle of the woods, 50 miles out from civilization, stuff like that. So I feel like accessibility and a sense of safetyness has a big factor to it. And one of my buddies, who's part of the Black Men Run New Jersey crew, me and him, we've been talking for a year or two now. Never met each other until this past weekend up in Oregon. And he came out. He was like, "Yeah, man, I wanted to get out of my comfort zone. I've done numerous 50Ks before in the Northeast where I live, but I've never really traveled to go do a big nationally known race. So I really want to push myself and like show other black men that we can push ourselves and get out of our comfort zone." And that's one thing I feel like I've been trying to push as well because living in Colorado Springs, there's a big African American and black presence here due to mainly military, but a lot of them don't want to try trail running because it's either too hard, it's not in their comfort zone. They don't want to be out in the woods for hours and not have cell phone signal and stuff like that. And then also, I always say too, growing up black, most of the time you're pushed into these like urban big cities to where you don't have access to the trails. It's like even my friend in New Jersey, he has to either drive up to New York or like drive an hour outside of the city just to go find a trailhead. To where like living in Colorado or Arizona or somewhere out west or somewhere more rural, you have easier trail access. But even me growing up in the St. Louis area, like we didn't know anything about trails. We were just like, oh, you're going to play basketball, football, and be a sprinter because that's the stereotypes for a black male or black female athlete. And I was like, you know what? After a few years of trail running and ultra, I'm like, I want to show them that we can actually do this and be competitive and that we do have a presence in this sport. And I think there was only one race where me and my friends didn't feel welcomed at, but every other race, it's just been like open arms and just thank you so much for being out here and like thank you so much for diversifying this race because it's just been nothing but white males the past few years or like we haven't seen a black person do this race in like 5 years. So it's been nice. Like even with the Triple Crown in Moab, I was the first black male finisher to do the Triple Crown in Moab through Mad Moose
Wow.
because there's even when I was out there, I was like one of two black people in Moab to do those races. And I just feel like once we stop being scared to go somewhere new or like face a new challenge or get out of our comfort zone, I feel like that's when you'll see a lot more blacks integrating the sport. 'Cause I know right now we have a lot of guys from like the Arizona Black Men Run crew. They love ultra and trail running because it's easy access now near
Yeah.
Mesa and almost like you just walk out of your house and bam, here's the mountains and trails. Compared to you have somebody living in
Right. Yeah.
Chicago or Memphis or Kansas City, it's like where are you going to go trail run or where are you going to go run in general, especially if you live in an inner city and you're fighting for your life just trying to walk out the door and not get robbed or shot or carjacked or something.
No, it's something that, I've never thought of. And so I'm glad you're speaking on it. It's helping me get a greater understanding of what other people are going through, something that I've never even thought of. I've thought about being unsafe in the trails, it only ever has to do with mountain lions and rattlesnakes,
Right.
So I'm glad you're speaking on this because I think it's important to get this message out there. We have such an inclusive, arms open group in the trail community. I think it's the perfect place for people who are trying to dip their toe into something new,
Oh yeah,
and open up their eyes to something new and experience that. I want that for everybody because I think that it's so important to share that with other people,
it is.
regardless, wherever you come from, or come out and enjoy a trail race, and you'll never go back. You'll be hooked.
Yep.
But I've never thought about this idea of growing up, because I've grown up in Arizona, and the mountains are right here. But that's a great point. What if I grew up in Phoenix? And where are you going to go?
Right, you're gonna have to drive
Downtown Phoenix.
out the city and go find camelback.
Exactly. Yep. And now I have to find my way to a trail. I've never really put my mind to that. So I'm really glad you shared that. That's in any way we can help. I'd love to help get involved. If there's a group or anything, shout them out because I'd love to get that out there for everybody. I think that's super important to bring as many people we can into the sport.
Oh yeah, because even our Denver Black Men Run chapter, there were a couple of them that were running trails before I had joined a few years ago, but not many. And there were a lot of them doing like the City Park 5K and 10K or just anything that was in like those parks that were more in the city where you felt more safe and there was a lot more people that looked like you walking around. And that's actually where I met them at was at it was like the Day of the Dead 10K in downtown Denver. And I just saw this big group of black men all wearing black men run jerseys, and I was like, "Hey, are you guys like a team or what? What's going on up here?" And he's like, "Oh man, no, we're a whole organization, this, and that." And they were giving me a card and everything before the race, and after the race, they found me. They're like, "Man, dude, we got to get you a part of the organization and all this." And oh, we had fun. But I told them, I'm like, "Hey, I really want to do trail runs, and I have a trail half marathon coming up in a few weeks here." And a couple of them joined me for it, and one of them was like, "I do not do trail stuff, like, and I don't do anything over a half marathon, so this is already getting out of my comfort zone." And the other one, he's really, really just like energetic, really just supportive, and doesn't want you to be alone, especially if you're a black man out there, because he knew that was going to be the only black man in that race. And he was like, "No, we're not going to let this brother be alone out there." And little, we
I love it.
were the only three black dudes out there doing that trail race. And
Dude, this is so cool. I love this. You're pioneering, you're blazing your own trail. It's just awesome. This whole story is so cool.
oh, it's been a great.
I love it.
I got a couple friends I do from the group that I do nothing but ultras with. My friends Chris and Dondre, I got them to do their first ultra with the first year I started doing my ultras. Because at first they're like, "Man, this dude is crazy. Like 30, 50 miles? Hell no. We're not going out there for that." When I did my first 50 mile,
That's probably why those guys wanted to recruit you the black men running guys probably wanted to recruit you like, dude, this guy's fast. He needs to be a part of our group. Bring him in.
yeah,
He's freaking fast.
I beat almost all of them except for one. They were just like, "Oh yeah, we got to get this dude in here."
Yeah,
But
he needs to be on the team.
yep. And yeah, my friends Dondre and Chris, whenever I was doing my first 50 miler in Moab, they did their first 50K in Moab to do their just to see how the ultras went. And they fell in love as soon as it was done. They're just like, "We will never do another race unless it's an ultra or a trail
I
race."
love it. Yeah, I mean, but it kind of, you kind of dip back into our conversation a few minutes ago about the differences in ultra and road. And I think that that barrier of friendliness, openness, time to chat, time to get to know people in ultra is just a great way for anybody to transition, let alone someone who's uncomfortable being alone, someone's uncomfortable exploring something new for whatever reason. I mean, what a great place to feel included because you end a road race and if you don't know nobody there, know anyone at the race at the finish, you can just walk back to your car.
Right.
You're all alone. But at a trail run, you've already met Frank and Jim and Sally, and you're all talking at the end and hanging out and having a great time. So I think it's such a great transition,
And I remember
uh,
I also brought
a sport to transition into.
and I also brought our friend Datron. That was his first trail race. He did the 30K. So everybody was doing like their first that day, which was awesome. And it was all four black men that came together and just went out there and just completed every single distance on the trails. And it was supposed to be the hardest trail
That's so
race that
cool.
Mad Moose had in Moab. So I say we went out there and we proved a point like, hey, we can do this stuff too. Like we can get out here, we can compete, we can finish, we can have fun. Like we can come out here and do it as well.
Absolutely. And that's the race you were talking about earlier where you was all downhill and then you turned around and went up
Yep.
and it was all yeah. Woo. Dude, you threw him in the deep end.
Oh,
You're like,
my friend,
come do this trail race with me.
my friend Andre's afraid of heights. I didn't know that going into it. So once he started climbing out of the canyon, I heard stories from all my other friends that were out there.
Oh,
They're just like, man, I saw one of your Black Men Run guys. He was not having a good time trying to get up those rocks. And I was like, let me see. Yup, that's Dondre.
poor guy. Dude, you took the guys afraid of heights, you scrambled them and bouldered them up this. That's great.
That's what one of my friends
Oh man,
just like
poor guy.
doing a race with Diarra. Make sure you have your will and all your affairs in order because you do not know if you're coming back from that race.
That would be pretty unsettling if you did sign up for the race and they're like, is your will and your trust in order? Do you have your life insurance papers? because you're gonna need it. Oh, I love it. Well, man, hey, listen, um, every podcast, I like to ask the guest to just, and we've been recently focusing on black men getting into ultra, but just people in general, how, what would you say to someone who's just finding ultra, maybe dipping their toes in? Um, you've got an incredible story, a very incredible story that needs to be shared. But if you could kind of direct maybe some comments to someone who's just getting into it, um, maybe just getting into running, getting into trail running. What kind of words of advice or things that you could share with them to help them bridge that gap?
Usually, for someone just getting into the trails, I always like to start off and say, like, hey, the hardest part is getting to the trailhead. Once you're there,
Mm.
it's easy. You just go out and have fun after that. It might be painful on some of the climbs, but you're going to feel so rewarded once you get up there and you just look around you and you have beautiful 360 views. Like here, you'll see Pikes Peak and Garden of the Gods and the Incline and downtown Colorado Springs and all these beautiful foothills on like every climb you go on. And it's going to be a little bit of pain for just a little bit of time. But if you can fight through that, you're going to have the best time of your life out there on the trails. And I always like to say,
I love it.
like, you don't have to get into an ultra. Like, ultras aren't for everybody. I know that. So, like I always say, there's shorter distances. If you want to do like a 10K, a half marathon, a
Mhm.
25K, 30K, or even a trail marathon, like, there's distances for everybody on the trails. It's just not 50Ks and 50 milers and hundreds and 200s. And
Yep.
so, I definitely,
That's so true because we all the sexy stuff, right, is like 100 mile or sub 24 hour Cocodona, and that's cool. Don't get me wrong. I think that's all impressive, but I think we forget about all these shorter distances that just are really enjoyable to go out and just go do, you know, a 10K
oh,
and the trails and just go enjoy
race this.
enjoy that distance. Like it doesn't have to be like the multi-day event. You can still get that amazing experience in those shorter distances. I love that. It's a great point.
Yeah, I went out to Big Alta and did the 28K and had a great time. It was so beautiful. The trails were amazing. Just being around the community was awesome. And knowing the fact that hey, I'm done
Yeah.
for brunch. This is new. Like this is
Right? Right?
I still go.
You're like, hey, we could go to lunch now.
So that's always a cool.
We don't have to sleep out here.
No, you're not taking dirt naps. You're like
Yeah, exactly.
throwing up all over the place, or you're just done in a very short time. And it's nice, but it's also fun.
And yeah, all that stuff's cool, but and maybe this is just selfishly me speaking, but like I after I did one of my longer events, I was kind of burnt out a little bit, and I signed up for this 5 mile hill climb, and I had so much fun at this 5 mile hill climb. I saw all the people that I knew.
Yep.
We had a great time. I was home. I was home early, and my wife wasn't like, what time are you coming home? 4 in the morning. But it's like you're done. You had some lunch. You enjoyed your day. So I really appreciate bringing that up because I think people getting into it see these bigger distances, and it is intimidating. But these shorter distances have so much to offer versus just diving straight into these longer ones.
Oh yeah, and those short.
And those can come along the way, but the shorter ones, they pack a lot of punch. So
Yeah.
yeah, I really glad you brought that up. They really do. And heck, you can go out and have a really fast 5 mile hill climb and it's gonna blow your legs up just like
Multiple times I've done
you're gonna get out of it exactly what you put into it.
because after I did a Pikes Peak marathon after they turned us around last year, I was like, I might be more beat up after this than a 50 miler because I was just pushing so hard because it's such a short
Right?
distance, so you're just burning, burning, going, and I got done. I was like, man, I think I'd rather run 50 miles and run up Pikes Peak and back. Like, holy crap!
You're like, I want some ramen and a grilled cheese. Where's my Where's my hot food? I wanted to have a nice break.
Where's my lawn?
That's what I always like about ultras is the eating. Yeah, right. Where's the fire at? It's getting cold.
But I will say for
Well, before go ahead.
I was gonna say I would say for ultras, if you are getting into ultras, just don't be afraid to fail. Because not every ultra is
Yes.
gonna go your way. The pros go through it, elites go through it, sub everybody goes through it. Do not be afraid to fail. It just
Amen.
teaches you for the next one.
I think that should be the name of this episode is don't be afraid to fail. I think your story is so amazing because of that, because you could have had like your story could have ended when you had that bad first race because you had so much success right off the bat. Your story could have ended like, yeah, this sucks. This is too hard. I don't want to fail. You had an incredible athletic career all growing up, even at a collegiate level, and then you have a bad race. I honestly I know people that have one bad DNF, and I don't see them post on Strava anymore.
No.
It's yeah. I mean, so absolutely, don't be afraid to fail. I love that. That's exactly the message that I think your story personifies is this idea of just keep pushing, just keep going.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Because people know me. They know like, oh, you finish front of the pack or mid top, this and that. But they also know that I'm gonna grind out whatever I can, and I'm not gonna leave. Most of the time, I'm not gonna leave something unfinished. Javelina, that heat is something my body cannot take. So I don't know if I'll be going back to Javelina. But
Hey, listen, come down for a week and acclimate to the heat. I know it sounds crazy because it's October, but come down and acclimate to the heat and, you know, hang out. We'll go hit some trails and it it'll definitely I noticed because the first year I paced my buddy at Cocodona, I watched even the pro guys and gals really suffer through the heat.
oh yeah,
And a few of them DNF'd because of it. And then the next year, those same people that DNF'd, well, I shouldn't say all of them. I know one in particular who came down here and spent a ton of time before the race to acclimate to the weather. Like if I went to do a race up where you are, like I'd have to acclimate to the elevation
oh yeah,
for sure. And but yeah, that dude, the heat. I don't think people. The heat is something else. Like
insane.
it's such a big equalizer.
And last year it was record breaking heat. It was like 108 on us.
Yes,
Yeah, and
it's
I'm
so hot.
just gone. And that's why I like doing these races.
I mean, I went out today and I'm covered up, sunshade, and I'm, out there looking like I'm some hospital patient, like I'm all covered up. But yeah, dude, the heat will just wreck your day.
Oh yeah, and that's why I'm glad I do fail at some of these races or don't finish because I'm like, hey, okay, I know my body couldn't do this, or like I can change this for next time. But I know for sure with javelina, like, oh, I can't take extreme high temperatures, or my body's just going to shut down. So at least I know that for the future going forward. So like, I know I'm not going to sign up for bad water, or I'm not going to sign up for a race in Moab in the middle of June or July, or like somewhere in the, like just this really,
Oh,
yeah.
yeah, yeah. There's kind of a local race here. I think it's called. I think they still do it. I think it's called the Fat Ass 50K. I think that's what it's called. Um, and it's in August,
Yeah.
and it's stupid. It's so hot. And then there's a local group that does. Um, they're the Royal Order of the Desert Rats.
Oh
And
God.
they're a wild bunch. They're a lot of fun to hang out with. But they do the Circle of Hell run every July, and it's 12 laps or as many laps as you can do in I think 2 hours. I forget the time, and it's a lot of fun because there's a ton of people that go out there. It's not like you don't pay or anything. It just goes out and have a good time. But dude, it is so stinking hot.
I can't even imagine.
So
Mm-mm.
yeah, well, come down and acclimate. I bet you could do it if you acclimated to it, but it does get pretty warm. Um, so I also wanted to also tell you, For every time I do a podcast, I send someone a gift. So
Oh,
I'm gonna send you something from Death March Running Company.
awesome.
I I'm not sponsored by them, or that they're not paying for anything, but I really appreciate my guests coming on, so I'm going to send you something. Obviously, don't give me your address over the podcast, but I'll have you send it to me offline,
Yeah, get
and I'll
that
get that sent out.
my door
Uh,
tomorrow.
yeah, yeah, you'll be getting a lot of fans at your door. Um, but I really appreciate coming on. So it's just a token of my appreciation. I love their gear and kind of the message they have. This death march, right? You just described that during races, and
A lot of death.
so I'd like to send that to you.
I
Yeah,
appreciate that. Thank you.
I hear you.
Yeah, I love.
You're welcome. Absolutely. Yeah, their stuff, their art. I was, I've been following them for some time. I love all their art and their gears, top notch. I actually just used some drop bags when I was pacing my buddy. They have some drop bags, and I was using them during the Monster. The Pacers could have drop bags, if you can imagine that,
Oh,
which
wow.
was pretty crazy. But I used them. Yeah, it was pretty wild. But anyway, I can't thank you enough. This has been so much fun. Your story is incredible, so I really appreciate you sharing it. And let's stay in touch.
Yeah, thanks for having me on and reaching out. And like I said, I enjoyed the page. So when she reached out, I was like, oh, I would definitely come on your podcast.
Well, like I said, those memes are fun. I do them to pass the time, and if I see something that I kind of translates into something that I've experienced during Ultra, and maybe no one likes them, but I've heard some good feedback, so I just keep doing them for fun, and I get some good feedback. So they're a lot of fun to hear people's comments, and people have sent me funny stories that related to what the meme was about. So it's a lot of fun to kind of build that little community that way. So it's been a good time.
I'll show my coworkers at work during some downtime, like, hey, look at this crazy video. This is exactly 2 weeks ago. Like this is ultra running right here.
Well, that makes me happy. I'm glad you're sharing it with people who don't know, because if they can get it through the meme, that means that it kind of did translate. So I'm happy to hear that. That's awesome.
Yeah. Well, yeah, thanks for having me again.
Well, listen, again, I appreciate it. Yeah, this has been so much fun, and I can't wait to get this out to everybody.
Awesome. Yeah, thank you.
All right, take it easy.
You
We'll
too.
see ya.
Thank you.